What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former multi-division world champion turned colorful analyst, Hall of Famer, Timothy Desert Storm Bradley, finished his career 33 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 13 wins by way of knockout. He stood at 5'6", 69-inch arm reach. Okay, the last time we saw Timothy Bradley in the ring was when he lost to Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. That was back in April of 2016, okay? Since then, Timothy Bradley became an analyst for ESPN and the network and the company in which he fought for, top-ranked CEO and promoter, legendary promoter Bob Arum. With that said, Timothy Bradley, he weighed in on the Devin Haney, undefeated lightweight WBC superstar boxer and top-ranked and ESPN fighter, Teofimo Lopez, undefeated, unified, WBA, IBF, WBO, Ring Magazine, WBC franchise champion, superstar boxer Teofimo Lopez. He weighed in on the scenario and the situation, what's going on, and he stated that he should do the same thing that undefeated, unified WBC, IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Errol Spence Jr. is doing to undefeated 3-division world champion, who currently is the WBO welterweight world champion, who fights under Top Rank banner and on ESPN and is a close friend of his, superstar boxer who is considered the best fighter in the world, Terence Crawford. He says that Errol Spence is using a business of boxing to not fight Terence Crawford. So he says that Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, at the age they are, they need to make this fight happen. They don't have the same excuse on their side that Teofimo Lopez does. He says that Teofimo Lopez has youth. So the fact that he's 22 years old, 23 years old, and Devin Haney's 22 years old, they haven't even begun to, come into their prime yet. He states that, both are undefeated, but they need to build on their resume. He hears all the chatter and all the call-outs of Devin Haney towards Teofimo Lopez. He says that Devin Haney needs to relax, slow down, and build his resume. He said this fight could take place somewhere down the line as they both build their profiles. He states that, Devin Haney has yet to fight that big-name fighter. He's yet to fight even a B-class fighter. He says the only guy he fought, worth note, was Yuriorkis Gamboa, who was Olympic gold medalist, and he states that Yuriorkis Gamboa is a 3-division world champion. So he states that Yuriorkis Gamboa was a B-class fighter, or maybe above, but Yuriorkis Gamboa had a torn Achilles. No, he had a torn Achilles in his last fight against Javonte Tank Davis, who was a 2-division world champion and a superstar undefeated boxer. And he states that, he took him 12 rounds. Yuriorkis Gamboa went 12 rounds with Devin Haney on a torn Achilles. And on Timothy Bradley, you're completely wrong, because Yuriorkis Gamboa went 12 rounds with Javonte Tank Davis on a torn Achilles, and he was eventually stopped in that 12th round. He nearly made it out of the 12th round with a guy who is vicious and who was very aggressive in Javonte Tank Davis, yet he made it to the 12th round after he popped his Achilles in the 3rd round. So, he was able to go another 9 rounds with one of the most brutal knockout artists in the sport of boxing, who's very vicious and who is a great closer. He was able to survive 9 more rounds with him on a popped Achilles, one of the worst injuries a professional athlete or any athlete can suffer in their career. Yet he recovered from that. He did his therapy and he recovered by the time he fought Devin Haney. Okay, we saw legend in the NBA, National Basketball Association, in Kevin Durant, who popped his Achilles, and he was out for a while, and he looks like he hasn't missed a beat. So today's time with sports science and medicine today, the injuries are not viewed the same, okay? Athletes are able to come back from injuries that used to be career-ended. So Yuriorkis Gamboa, we saw him running track. We saw him sprinting. We saw him, still athletic. It was what Devin Haney did in the ring that made him hesitant. Now, Devin Haney is a pure boxer. He's not a pressure fighter, okay? Neither was Floyd Mayweather. So to say that Yuriorkis Gamboa went 12 rounds with Devin Haney, and Devin Haney wasn't able to stop him on a torn Achilles was incorrect on the part of Timothy Bradley. That was Javonte Tank Davis. And Timothy Bradley, in his career, he had a total of 36 fights. And Timothy Bradley only has 13 knockouts in 36 fights, okay? So he wasn't known. He's a Hall of Famer, okay? He's a legend in the sport, and he wasn't known to have power. Timothy Bradley went the distance with just about everybody he's fought, okay? So with that said, Timothy Bradley, when he fought his big fights, he wasn't getting knockouts, okay? It was surprising to see Timothy Bradley get a knockout over Brandon Rios. That everybody was absolutely shocked and surprised about that. But Timothy Bradley, most of his knockouts came early in his career, not when he stepped up the level of opponents, okay? So Devin Haney being 21 years old, 22 years old when he fights a veteran who is a gold medalist and a 3-division world champion in Gamboa, doesn't matter at what point in his career, Gamboa knows how to survive, right? And to say that he's using the business of boxing to avoid, he should use the business of boxing to avoid Devin Haney, that being Teofimo Lopez, as Errol Spence is doing with Terence Crawford, is completely incorrect as well on the part of Timothy Bradley, right? Because we know that Errol Spence has offered and stated that if Terence Crawford take a 60-40 split, he wouldn't mind making the fight happen, okay? Terence Crawford feels like his value is higher than the 60-40 split. And so with that, Terence Crawford is the one that's saying he doesn't think the fight is going to happen, or he's not going to take the fight unless it's a 50-50 split. And legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO Bob Arum, who promotes Terence Crawford, who promoted Timothy Bradley in his career, he stated that unless they came up with a 50-50 split, we would never agree to that, a 60-40 split, okay? And it has nothing to do with the talent in the ring. It has everything to do with your profile outside the ring, okay? How you build your brand outside the ring is who garners the biggest share of the percentage, okay? That's been the business of the sport of boxing for years on years, okay? When you are the biggest star, and Errol Spence is proven to be the biggest star. He's done the biggest gate in 2020 with the pandemic, coming off a 14-month layoff and suffering a horrific car accident. He still did a bigger gate than Saul Canelo Alvarez, okay, who was viewed as the face of the sport of boxing. He still did bigger numbers than Javonte Tank Davis. So with that said, he's proven the biggest star, okay? So for Timothy Bradley to say that Errol Spence is using the business of the sport of boxing to not fight Terence Crawford is absolutely incorrect, okay? And it's irresponsible on the part of Timothy Bradley, because Timothy Bradley understands how Bob Arum operates. Bob Arum's not willing to pay guys big money. Now, Terence Crawford, he has to pay a percentage to Bob Arum. Errol Spence does not, okay? So at least he doesn't have to pay a percentage that Terence Crawford has to pay, because he doesn't have a promotional company. So with that said, Timothy Bradley was stated to he was supposed to fight, scheduled to fight Errol Spence when Errol Spence became his mandatory, and he didn't fight him. Okay, so he stated, Timothy Bradley, he says, since when this side of the top ranked side does business with the PBC side. This is when Timothy Bradley was in talks about a fight between him and Errol Spence. So he used the business of boxing to not fight Errol Spence. And now he's telling Teofimo Lopez he should use the business of boxing to not fight Devin Haney. And he says Devin Haney is looking to be a great fighter. He says Devin Haney he's very rangy, he's very athletic, he's very fluid, he could box, he understands distance. So he says that Devin Haney, that fight, he says that he's not guaranteeing that Devin Haney will beat Teofimo Lopez. He don't want to say that Teofimo Lopez shouldn't fight him because he may lose, but he says there is a possibility he could lose to Devin Haney. He says to build your profile. He says he just beat one of the best fighters in the sport of boxing, and that he did against a 3-division world champion, former Olympic 2-time gold medalist, and Vasil High-Tech Lomachenko. For sure, Lomachenko has a lot of accomplishments within the sport of boxing, but to say that he wants him to use the business. So essentially, he's saying that once they get older, right? So Timothy Bradley is saying that it's not okay for Errol Spence and Terence Crawford not to fight. He says hopefully that fight does come to fruition, but he says that these guys are still very, very young. They have a bright future ahead of them. So here's the thing. I'm confused that if they're not fighting each other, then how do they not fight? How do they get to fight B-level or A-level fighters? How do they bolster their resume? How do they build up their profile if they're not fighting? If you're just going to discredit everybody that they're fighting currently, and you're going to say he hasn't even fought a B-level fighter, well, then what is a B-level fighter? If Yuriokis Gamboa doesn't qualify as a B-level fighter and using his injury as an excuse, okay, well then that we could do that with plenty of boxers in your resume, and as well as boxers on Terence Crawford's resume when it comes to comparing his resume to Errol Spence's resume. We could say the same thing about Jose Benavidez. He was on an injured leg, but you don't not give him his credit for beating him, okay? So here's the thing. These young fighters need to fight. This is how the sport of boxing should operate, okay? These are big fights in the sport of boxing. Teofimo Lopez has already beaten Nakatani. He's already beaten Richard Coleman. He's already beaten Lomachenko. What is he waiting for? Okay? And if you believe that Devin Haney does stand a chance to beat Teofimo Lopez, then what is he waiting for? Because if you're saying that they haven't built up their profile, they're still young, well, you look at Teofimo Lopez's resume. He beat Richard Coleman for the IBF title. He beat Nakatani, that win is looking better and better every day. And he beat Lomachenko, who was already accomplished, a vet in the sport of boxing. You can't get much more accomplished than Vasyl Lomachenko. So what is Teofimo Lopez waiting for at this point in time? What is he looking to accomplish? Who can he beat that has a resume better than Vasyl Lomachenko in and around his weight class? Because there's nobody at 140 that has a resume better than Vasyl Lomachenko's. There's nobody at 135 or 130 that has a better resume than Vasyl Lomachenko. So what is he waiting for moving forward? Who is he going to beat? How does he get better than that? Unless he goes to 147 and beats Errol Spence, Terence, Crawford, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, or even a Manny Pacquiao, there's nobody he can beat that's more accomplished than Vasyl Lomachenko. So it only makes sense for him now to just start, solidifying himself and make it official that he's undisputed and defending his titles against Devin Haney, where there will be no doubt, and close the door on any doubt that who's undisputed at 135. So Timothy Bradley understands, because there was big fights that Timothy Bradley could have made, but he didn't push for those fights because they was on the other side, and he just was comfortable with the fact that Bob Arum wasn't willing to do business with the other side of the street. So that's all I got for y'all, man. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.